Lauren Vestal here with Shad Berry and Taylor Somerville, and we're going to talk a little bit about our Resilient Leader Mastermind and a little bit of the background about how we all came to be here and together, and then we'll just go from there. So, Shad, you want to kick us off? Tell us a little bit about your background and what you're bringing to the table for our mastermind coming up here starting in September.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. So I'm thrilled about this because I've loved working with you guys and the things that we all care about really blend nicely together. But in short, my background really led to what I would describe as a premature midlife crisis. So I did everything fast. And really that opened me up to this world of emotional intelligence and really what it was going on in my internal universe that I had really minimized or disregarded, medicated in certain ways, and tried to manage through self will and self effort. And I'd say over the last 10 to 13 years have been on this journey or this path where I've been open to and exploring more of how to reconnect my head and my heart and really integrating my emotional state and not viewing that as this bug, as this weakness or as this deficiency, and really viewing it as an asset that helps me connect and resonate with other human beings. And so, really learning to join the human race and not beat myself up for being human, but really, just appreciate all that that comes with. And so, part of what I'm going to hope to bring to the table and deliver something of value alongside of you guys is there are frameworks out there that make it easier, to help me connect those dots. And so I feel very fortunate that over the last several years of my own seeking, that I have found people and mentors and tools that have made it more accessible for me to understand what's going on in my own emotional state and take responsibility for that versus be a victim of it, versus that happening to me, but even happening for me. So we're going to explore, this personally and psychologically, and you guys cover a lot of this too in your work of like what is going on and how is that more of an indicator of like what's going right versus something I try to overpower or take control over. So I'm really excited. And y'all's breath work and the science behind that and the nutrition and all of those exercises are just so powerful to help bring regulation to some of that. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. And we're excited too. Taylor, before we get to you, Shad, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions because I think, hearing your story and what we've talked about, the three of us kind of offline is we all struggle with the same things that we're trying to help people with. And I think it's
Hmm.
really impactful when we've gotten to a certain point in our lives and all of us chose to step away from what we were doing in an effort to help other people move through the things that we've been struggling with. So if you're open to it, can you tell us a little bit about, like how did you recognize when you hit that spot of, okay, something has to change? And how did you know that it was time to take some different steps forward?
I recognized it when I was curled up in the fetal position on the floor crying. We had I've talked about this in various contexts, but we had had a series of really difficult events that really introduced me to depression. Before that in 2012, I would have said I was impervious to that, probably judgmental of other people that wrestled with it. I was just so ignorant and so arrogant about all of that world, and I was humbled by life, being life and demonstrating its power and my lack of control. And that so once I really hit that kind of experience of really joining the human race, as I would say, is when I started to reach out for help and seeking counseling, and just felt like I found these. Well, and once I started to tell these, sharing that now is so much easier than telling that then.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
I've, back then I was like, if I tell Lauren and Taylor this, especially recording it, like there's no way, and people will abandon me. And now I'm like, oh, the more I tell the truth about my life and story, the more people say, "Me too," like
Mhm.
there's, and so it's a powerful way to not commiserate, but to share hope, that even those dark experiences can actually bring healing and courage and freedom. And so, yeah, while I would never want to go back through the pain of it, I'm really grateful that it woke me up to help me see a different path, and be
Yeah.
open to all these things.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I know,
Mhm.
like you said, there's definitely people out there who are hearing you say it and be like, "Oh yeah, I would never tell anybody about that's," but that's exactly how I'm feeling too. So, um, Taylor, how about you?
Taylor, when's the
Uh,
last time you were curled up in the corner crying?
I mean, probably pretty recently, but
Uh,
definitely been over the years.
I'm like, oh, earlier this week. Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited about putting this, program out there. We've done a lot of work with Shad and his team over at Next Level, and always enjoyed getting in with them. And one of the things we've noticed is how uh, synergistic our way of thinking is, and how putting this stuff together from the work we do on stress and the nervous system and overall health and performance, and then the emotional and relational intelligence that Shad brings to the table is just perfect for people who are leading others and helping each other. And really, it kind of starts with yourself, and first understand yourself. And I think our society and our world pushes towards a trying to push that stuff down a lot of the ways, and just keep grinding. And while that works for most people, can work for decades. For me, it worked for until I was about 35. And then through a lot of professional stress and a very, tough job on a trading floor, was very, constantly going, never really stopping, and then going through a divorce. It really led me, for one, beginning to think, all right, you can look around and people feel like they're on top of the world, look like they're on top of the world, and everything's actually just crumbling beneath them. And also understanding how quick things can change. So do what you really want to do and do what you really need to do, because nothing's guaranteed in the future. And it brought me to, first, I started going to therapy, and then found meditation and breath work, and realized, oh man, I could, taking control of this. These are tools and techniques that have been used for thousands of years. And they're really something that we can use to change our mental and physical state, to help us calm down and relax in the moment. Let us be less reactive, be more responsive, whether that's dealing with somebody you're working with, dealing with your children, dealing with your spouse. Uh, and the more reps you do and put in, the easier it is in the moment. And so, I really took a deep dive in all that, and I finally quit my job in 2017, and felt the real need to help others with this stuff and teach these techniques to other people, because I knew I wasn't the only one going through these things, just like Shad was saying. And also, when I started doing this in at that time frame, it was very much a woo woo, what the hell are you doing type thing. Like, especially in the South, in Memphis, Tennessee, it's like, this guy's lost his mind. Uh, you know, 6 years later, now 7 years later, it's everywhere. From high powered CEOs to, there's a New York Times article on basically every high performing athlete using them in some technique, Olympians, pro athletes. So it's not woo woo. There is woo woo to it, but there's science and there's reality, and pretty much every major institution is researching this stuff, and understanding the mechanisms of action and what's going on in our body, in our brain, in our nervous system when we're manipulating these things. And if you have just a base level understanding of some of this stuff, it can help you uh, be better on an emotional level, understand yourself. And we really look at the breath as kind of like a foundation building block, and that's what I think is a big thing. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that you see online is kind of looking at these little hacks and things that the 0.001% of people can use to help them. But if you're not doing the base level foundational stuff, it doesn't matter at all. And we're really big on focusing on building that base level of foundation. So then, hey, if you need some of the other stuff, you can go to that. But if you're not working on yourself, understanding yourself first, it's going to be very hard to deal with other people. You can do it for a certain amount of time, but most likely it's all going to break down eventually. It's just a waiting game of when that actually happens.
Right. And to that point too, I know, the three of us kind of got to breaking points earlier on, and that's what kind of catapulted us into this work. But that's not to say that you have to wait until you have hit burnout or some big
Right.
catastrophe. Like this work that, excuse me, we all do and that we're presenting in this mastermind not only gives us some resilience and kind of, Taylor, like you were saying, the foundation from which to build and continue to grow and get stronger, better, evolve, more aware, especially Shad, the work that you're doing, but also it ties together kind of the head and the body, right? So much of what people do is like either therapy or, exercise, nutrition, kind of body focus, but it's not often that we can get these things brought together from like the emotional awareness part of it, and how can I lead from an authentic space and understand where I am coming from so that I can show up in the world the way that I want to show up in the world. But then also understanding with that, okay, what's my mental emotional space and what is my body telling me? And maybe my body's telling me something that my head's trying to ignore. And so we're really able to use this mastermind to integrate those things so that you can be a more robust person, as it were, and understand yourself better so that you can, lead better, and not only from a work perspective, but also family, friends, being the person that you want to show up in the world as. And I know for us with children, that has a big impact. How you're showing up at home, little ones are watching all the time and absorbing everything. So, so are your employees if you're leading at work. You set the stage, you set the example. So
You guys are touching on stuff that's making me even more excited and passionate about what we're about to do, and the cultural dynamic of the moment that we're in and will likely be in for a very long time is that we have this duality now in our lives, in our existence, between our digital universe, this electronic universe, and our material physical universe. And the digital universe is moving, and I love all that. Like, I love the stuff that's happening in AI, the breakthroughs. Like, I'm not anti any of that. However, the temptation continues to be that the solution or the coping mechanism to make life feel less stressful will be digital, and that is not possible or true. Like, that's the biggest thing we've got to understand, is that all the hacks that you're talking about, Taylor, that we see, like the hacks that are promising to make life easier digitally and virtually, not that we don't get conveniences out of that or gain efficiencies out of that, but it is not ultimately going to be satisfying or fulfilling. That our connection with the biological, neurological, relational, and emotional and spiritual is what's going to bring the satisfaction and fulfillment. The digital has to be additive. It can't replace it. And so, like, what we're trying to cultivate, and it really is an uphill battle. Even and it's so interesting. We can talk about this later, but even though it's gaining attention, in a lot of contexts, it's still trying to be digitized. Like, it's still trying to be, how do we gain that to make all this, somehow easier and less of a path and more of a pill. And we're saying, no, it's a path. Like, it's not a super popular path, and it's not necessarily sexy or high tech. There's some tech that can accompany that, but it's, at the end of the day, it's me with me, me with you, staying grounded, regulated, centered, and all those things. So, I mean, yeah. Anyway, just we gotta do the work. So
Yeah.
hopefully
there's
this
no
helps do that.
shortcut. Yeah.
And it's definitely a path, and it's a path that goes on forever. Because no
Mhm.
matter where you are, we're still human, and we still go back to the same unconscious patterns that were built and ingrained in us from our early childhood. And no matter how much work we do, it's still kind of a default. But creating awareness and understanding that stuff is the first step to making change, and then you can make a little bit more and a little bit more. So over the years, you're in a little bit more of control of how you react, how you respond. And then when you're taking care of yourself, you're able to take care of all of those around you. And if you're letting all that stuff go by, that's where a lot of problems happen. Most of us get stuck in the stages of life where it's, just crushing it at work, and letting everything go by, letting our health and our family go by, or maybe we're too focused on our health and not focused enough on work, or, so it's kind of figuring out how to balance all that stuff out as well.
I like what you were saying, Lauren, and I'd love for you to have a chance to kind of share more of your journey. But when you're using the expression like showing up the way that I want to, and people may be like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way I hear that is like we're showing up often the way we feel like we have to, like we don't have a choice, we don't have a voice, we're stuck, or we're trying to keep up or catch up. It's like that's not how we were made to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for you to share more about kind of that and your experience and journey with that
Yeah,
concept. Or
for me, for sure, right now, season of life wise, with, just as an example, like my husband's been traveling a lot for work, and I've been solo parenting with two very small children. And, we're getting this launched. We've got a lot of other stuff happening, which is, exciting things going on, doing a big science of breath certification. And it's, managing, packing all the lunches, getting enough sleep for myself, making sure I'm showing up for work and getting all of my stuff done, but then also being emotionally available and present for, an 11-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. And when the 3.5-year-old doesn't want to go to bed, am I freaking out and snapping at him, or am I able to stay present, calm, be like, okay, nope, you're 3, this is what you're supposed to be doing, and now I can keep myself regulated enough to not freak out when we're on the bedtime routine that's lasting, going on 2 hours. So, if I do freak out at him and he finally goes to bed later, I'm like, that's not how I want to be acting towards him. That's not what I want to be modeling for him, whether it being able to be present for a client, so taking care of myself in the way that allows me to be conscious and show up with integrity, respect for other people, less reactive, more responsive and aware, open, as opposed to just, okay, let me check this off the list. Let me check that off the list. Let me go to the grocery store, get to my yoga class, pick up the kids, do the laundry, blah, 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 blah. Like the list for everyone is 3 miles long, but it's like, okay, I'm not going to get it all done at one time. Understanding that and just being able to do one thing at a time, not frantically, and not just be in chaos mode all the time. So really, I guess, long way to say, I want to show up and be kind and open and present and not be snapping at people because I got cut off in traffic. I don't need to take that out on you, Shad, So, and I think that
why do I
happens a
have to be
lot.
I wouldn't cut you off in traffic.
No,
I'm a good
no.
driver.
If I get cut off and then I walk into a meeting with you and I'm like, Shad,
Oh, I
why
see.
didn't I, it's like, that's not your fault. I can
Yeah, carry
own
that with
my
us.
own reactions. Yeah. So I think less reactive, more responsive
Mhm.
is the takeaway for me on that. But
Well, yeah, and being efficient but not hurried. Like
right.
we talk about. Yeah, it's so interesting, Taylor. I think you um, have a lot to offer on that too. Of the I think the mindset. Like our overall mindset of how we um, what we expect, things, how we expect things to happen, and the amount of time we expect them to take, and then the demand that we put on ourselves and others, right? If they don't live up to that expectation. I would be curious to hear your thoughts on that from a mindset perspective, how that needs to shift or how we can help that shift.
Well, we always try to do so much, and we all have a massive, busy list. I think one of the things that causes a lot of issues is there's also that cult of busyness. So it's almost like a badge of honor to show how busy you are and how busy your family is, and how it's like, it's a status symbol. But where is it really getting you? And is that busy stuff? It's like, going to inbox zero, which, hey, I'm all for that, and I like checking things off. Got a little OCD, and so I get all that. But at the end of the day, is it really moving the needle? Is it, it's more important to be present and focused with those you're with. Things like staying off of your phone. Not You don't need to respond to every text or email instantly. Uh, you know, and the modeling aspect, modeling the people to not only your family but your employees, your coworkers, your friends. Like, all right, how engaged are you in the moment, or is really the most important thing in your life just checking the boxes and checking that digital phone, which gets us all so sucked in. And that's one of the big areas, trying to have that mindset shift. And one of the big things we do with all of our clients, or we do in groups one-on-one, is, do you need to check your phone first thing in the morning and the last thing at night? If you can just start putting that away for 30 minutes before you go to bed and the first 30 minutes in the morning, you can see massive improvements in your well-being, your sleep, how you show up for those around you. So I think, somebody watching this, they just give that a try for a week and see how it makes you feel.
That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite things. Just no phone in the morning, even starting with that, changed the entire trajectory of my day.
hmm Yeah, I think that conveying to folks and then to people that it's not going to be one silver bullet. I think it may be cliche to say it's a lifestyle, but um, I think we have to reach a point where you're just hungry for more, like greedy in a good way. Greedy for more depth, greedy for more connection, greedy for more purpose, greedy for more passion. And I think I guess what I would want to convey to anybody is like that's available to all of us.
Mhm.
Like those are resources that are renewable. Your time is fixed. We have the same amount of time, but the passion and purpose and connection, relational, emotional depth, that's renewable. Like, and you never get to the bottom of those things. And I guess that's part of what we're hoping for others, like we're hoping for ourselves, is that that's available to you, but it's going to be have to take a massive, sometimes massive, maybe subtle over time, a shift in how we practice being human. Because that's really what we mean by resilient. Resilient means that I'm drawing from those available resources in the midst of stress and anxiety, not somehow outpacing or outlasting stress and anxiety. So excited for what we're offering in
And
hopes
that
that it
stress
might
is never going to go
bring some of
away.
that. Right.
I mean, that's one of the things stress isn't good or bad. It just is. It's how you
hmm
handle it, how you deal with it. Do you let it break you down, or do you use it to make you more resilient and grow? And that's what we're going to be doing a lot in this mastermind, and really helping you learn how to use it to grow, kind of understanding a little bit more about yourself, where you might be on some different curves, and that aspect of maybe you're pushing a little closer to burnout than you actually thought, and you might need to dial it back and ground yourself a little bit more so you can work hard and put in that work when you really need to, because there's times when you really need to grind away really, really hard. But it's understanding that you got to dial it back as well.
Well, and to the points of what you guys are both saying, I think a lot of questions we hear are things like, well, I barely have time to do something for an hour that I want to do for myself. I don't have time to add in all these extra things you want us to do. And I think that's part of the beauty of all of this, is that we're not asking anyone to overhaul their lives right away. It's these small incremental changes that we start to practice and build upon that creates change. It's like you don't run a marathon all at once. You start small, right? If you run a marathon before, you start with, well, I'm not a marathon trainer, but I would assume, a smaller, shorter run, and you build from there. When you go to run the race, it's one stride at a time, one step at a time, and eventually you get there. But that's kind of our thought process too behind building this momentum and the habits that will set you up for success and set you up for that resilience, Shad, that you were talking about.
I'm kind of laughing to myself because we all experimented with a slightly sarcastic email campaign around this because, like, it's so ironic and just it's and I that we I don't have time to prioritize caring wealth for myself is that if you're looking at this and saying I really need that but I don't have time for it, it's like I think that's a clear smoking gun that you need this, you
Yeah.
need something, whether this or something.
Yeah.
But it is really bizarre and just a sign of how out of control some of our behaviors have become, of like doing something that is going to invest in yourself and you taking responsibility for yourself becomes something that's marginal that we don't have time for. It's
Mhm.
like that just, I feel like it just begs for deeper reflection and evaluation. So hopefully we didn't offend anybody. But like for the leader who doesn't have time and doesn't need one more thing, this is for you.
That's
Well,
exactly what it is, an
That's
investment in yourself.
mhm.
and at the risk of offending someone, sorry anybody if this does, but at what point are you going to take responsibility for it? Are you going to wait
Mhm.
until you are in crisis, or have some big health scare, or have a ruptured relationship to be like, man, I wish I had taken this more seriously 6 months ago. Um, you don't have to wait. And even if it's not doing this with us, you don't have to, Shad, to
Right.
your point, like you don't have to
So
wait. You
many
can do,
resources.
there are so many resources, and even if somebody wants to reach out to either any of us, or like, hey, I'm not there yet, but where else could I start? Like, uh,
We've got
I
plenty
guess
of
I'll
that.
speak for all of us here. Like, I think we'd be happy to point people in the right direction, even if this program isn't where they are right this second. Just start.
And I don't, sorry, Lum. Yeah, I don't know the research around this, but I would guess, and I'd be curious y'all's perspective. It is a very, very rare human being who is, because everything we're going to talk about and everything we're going to do, people could go find and do for free on their own.
Sure.
But I think it's a very rare human being that will actually go and myself included. I tell everybody anything I've ever done of any value or worth has come with coaching and structure, and it's required me to invest in it. Um, like it's a very rare human that's going to go find all the free stuff, consistently apply it over a long period of time to the point of transformation. Like it sounds great. I'm going to work out by myself in my garage, or and some people do that, and more power to you. But like, to therapize yourself or to, create your own structure and stick with it without the accountability and framework is really hard to do.
Well,
Well,
and
and
there's
you
something
said
about, oh, yeah, go ahead, Taylor.
coaching, structure, and I'll add one more, community.
Yep.
Community. Yeah.
I mean, like we're your relational tribal beings.
Mhm.
That is how we have evolved to be where we are now. And it's nobody did it on their own. You could look at any supposed self-made person, they didn't do it on their own. They had people helping them along the way, whether or not they want to believe it or not. Nobody did anything in their life on their own. And there's a lot of people that helped you on the way up. So having a community, like-minded people that you can grow with, learn new things, bounce ideas off each other. And one of the things I love about any group that we've ever done is we learn as much from the participants as they learn from us. It's very much a sharing. We're there to provide the framework and the ideas and some practical tools that they can use, but we learn a lot more from how they're using them in ways that we didn't even think about.
It's fun.
100%. Yeah. Agreed.
We've
Well,
only got
cool,
a
guys.
couple weeks before we get going here, so you know we're starting September 4th. And we know we've talked about technology, but guess what? This is going to be a lot through technology since it's an
That's right.
entirely virtual program. So we got people joining from all over the country, and we have a great platform that will be hosting stuff in between the sessions. So I think there's a lot, on the, you don't have to be here in person to get it. And we're doing this through Zoom, and we'll be doing our meetings this way.
So if you're on the
Nope.
fence, hop off, get on board.
Now's the time. Yeah, no problem using technology to facilitate or foster relationship is the big problem if we're using it to try to replace it. So
Mhm.
It's a great way to put it.
love leveraging it. Yeah, where it makes it possible. But yeah, some seats still available. Definitely let us know if you have questions.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for your time. And where can people find more information? They can email us.
You created it,
We
Lauren.
can
You tell 'em.
drop the link in here.
Yeah, we'll
That's right.
we'll have the link. It's symmetrysyndicate.com/the Resilient Leader Mastermind. You can email me at lauren@symmetry.live. Taylor's same email, Shad. Well, Taylor's Taylor at
Shad,
symmetry.live.
Shad at edmondsonberrygroup.com. But yeah, find any of us, but that website's got all the details. Lauren did a great job piecing that together. Yeah, all the details about what you would need to know and how to get started.
Cool. Well, hope to see you guys in there, whoever's watching, and Taylor and Shad, I'll see you soon.
Yep, excited to get going.
Y'all. Looking forward
Thanks,
to it.
guys.